How's it going, everyone? Chrono here, and as you probably know if you're watching this video, the new set for OP14 just released on the sim, and that means a whole slew of new cards to toy and tinker with. The meta's getting shaken up, and as Japan has not even gotten to play with the EB04 stuff yet, we've got a lot of new things to start testing. To start things off in week 1, I upgraded the deck I was playing in OP13, Carrot, and set to work on the ladder to see how it matches up. The results were pretty promising, and so I thought I'd share some of those games with you all, as well as my deck list in case you're interested in giving it a go. Overall, Carrot appears to be similar to Mihawk as a generalist strategy that's at least decent into everything, with some outliers that are quite favored for her. And really, this should be unsurprising, as they're both green strategies that have fairly similar game plans. In week 1, I did play a total of 64 games with her, and I had a 64% win rate, earning a spot in the top 10 on the ladder. As for my build, it's very similar to my previous OP13 list, with just a few of the new cards slotting in for counterparts that did roughly something similar to what the new ones do. In particular, my Hody Jones cards have now become the new 8-cost Carrot. She's a fantastic new finisher for the deck that ideally will allow you to swing 7k with your leader, 11k with a Law Beppo, and then another 11k with a different Law Beppo, and then use the 8-cost Carrot to restand both of the Law Beppos as well as your leader, and do it all over again. Hody was a serviceable finisher, basically did something similar in that it would allow you to rest the blockers and the potential counter events out of your opponent's hand by tapping down their Dawn. It's just that Carrot is at least searchable by some of your Minx searchers, and so it's a lot more consistent that you'll be able to see her compared to Hody by the endgame. Additionally, I slotted in 2 Ella Claws over 2 of my Milky 2k counters. This allows me to keep a similar amount of total counter power in the deck while still having the potential cost reduction that Ella Claw lets you do, something that green doesn't normally get access to. And while Ella Claw doesn't necessarily come up all that often, there were definitely some turns where you got to freeze 8 to 10 cost characters with your Carrot after using the reduction on them and then playing a Carrot or swinging with one. Lastly, I did try out the new 5-cost Perona in lieu of my 5-cost Stun Bonnie cards as a way to have a better mid-game into specifically Emu, since if they use the Mars to KO them, then you would still be able to play another 5-cost character out of your hand and keep a board presence. However, by the latter half of my games, I had swapped the Perona back out for my Bonnies, just because, well, Bonnie being a supernova is of course searchable, and we've got a lot of searchers for supernovas in this deck, so I usually have access to her if I needed it. And, well, while Perona only hits 5-cost character cards, which, by the way, your Carrots can hit as well, Bonnie can hit any character. And so sometimes, they have a rested 8-cost, 10-cost character, you could just hit that and they won't get to restand it at the start of their turn. And additionally, you could even hit Dawn with the Bonnie, which was very disruptive, especially, if Boa's trying to go to their 9 Dawn turn, they want to play their 9-cost Boa, just play that Bonnie down and force them to do something else with their turn. A lot of times they just have to end up allocating Dawn and swinging, which is a lot worse for them, as you'll see in some of the games here. As for the rest of the list, well, it's of course playing both of these Supernova Searchers like I mentioned before, the blocker Bonnies, the 5 costs that help you filter your hand as well as dig a little deeper into your deck for more combo pieces, and then the 6-cost Laws to help you swarm the board, as well as a couple of 2k counter Apus, as it's just a searchable counter card, and its low cost lets you play it and then bounce it with Law in case you didn't have anything else on board already. And lastly, the Law Beppos as top end for the Supernovas. As for the Minx, there's the Wanda Searcher, the Stage Searcher Carrot, and then the stage itself. We've also got 2 Milkies and 2 Ella Claws for our counter power in that side of the deck, and of course the All-Star, the 5-cost Carrot as well. And I already mentioned it, but the 8-cost Carrot as a finisher card. And for the last 2 slots, I've got my Dead Man's Games events. I was a little curious to try out the Tashigi just as a hard-to-remove character similar to Perona, except, it also resists bounce effects such as Jozu, but I'm just not entirely sure what I would take out. Possibly I could try taking the Bonnies back out again, or the Dead Man's Games maybe, but for right now, this is the list that I've been rolling with. And so, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the games. So here we are up in game 1 against the RB Ace deck. This is of course one of the more popular decks on the ladder, and they did win the die roll, so they chose to go second. Not to worry though, our deck is pretty much 50-50 into this deck whether we get to go first or second, so it doesn't really matter too much, especially if they do miss either a Marco or Jozu on curve, which does happen sometimes. For our turn, we're just going to be playing our searchers out. Luckily, we do hit the Zoe. That sometimes doesn't happen. Sometimes you do miss the Zoe, and it's very disappointing. But this time we got a little lucky. We got to find it and play it. Now, of course, swinging 6 and 7 are basically the same against Ace if it's only going to be your only attack. So I opt to leave a Dawn up. Not that we're going to do anything with it. There's no way this Dead Man's Game comes down, but maybe they think that we have something. In any event, we will just go ahead and tap down their Marco that they had. We'll also use our 1-drop in order to tap down their Ezo. This just means that if they let it go, which they didn't, so we'll have to swing our leader into it as well. But if they did let it go, then they won't be able to Jozu it back on their next turn. So this way, if they want to play Jozu to get rid of the 5-drop we're about to play, they're going to have to get rid of their own Marco, which, less characters on board is better for us. As for what I'm going to pitch, I go ahead and decide to pitch the Dead Man's Game. In the off chance I draw into a carrot or get one out of life, I can maybe use this Ella Claw to tap down a Jozu, but then he just goes ahead and swings 7 and 7, so he's probably just going to play another Marco, and there it is. Not a big deal though, and it does mean we get to save our counter event. Very nice. We'll just probably be going for a Law here, and I do want to take one of these Marcos out if possible, so we're going to offer all of our swings into them. The less characters on board, the better, especially since he's about to go into his 8 Dawn turn where he could be playing the 10 cost Whitebeard. And the fact that he did go ahead and let one of them go does signal to me that, yes, he is going to have the 8 cost spell plus the 10 cost Whitebeard. And if we had gotten rid of one of his Marcos, then that extra 2 Dawn would have been completely wasted. It wouldn't have gone to anything. As it stands, we are probably going to lose our Bonnie here, as well as one of our lives. However, instead he just goes both into my leader. So I'll just go ahead and eat those. Being at 1 life is where you want to be. You don't want to go any lower than that, but 1 life is just perfectly fine, because you can use your blockers to help to stabilize. Now here, we're just going to go ahead and poke with 6s. If he wants to take all the way down to 0 to try to hit us with the Gold Roger to try to close out the game, we're fine with that. We have tons of counter power, so not really particularly concerned. I'm actually looking at just using this carrot to help pressure even more, and it's also going to freeze the additional Marco, which completely limits his swings. He's only going to have the 10 cost Whitebeard plus his leader, and then maybe a Roger, which, again, we have a blocker in case he doesn't do that, which we're just going to give up to any swing that he does. That's too big for us to counter out of, and we have plenty of counter to get out of a Roger turn. So we're not scared at all here, and if he doesn't kill us, then we can really start to leverage these Law Beppos to choke him out of the game, or potentially we could just, try to go for it. We've got a lot of characters on board. He's only got 4 cards in hand, and his blockers are rested. As it stands, though, he decides to leave everything up, and so I'll just go ahead and chip him down a little bit and tap down one of his Whitebeard blockers, as well as make my leader a 7k for the turn. I'll even be able to leave 1 Dawn up for Ella Claw if I want to. And with that being the case, basically, we're going to chip down even more cards out of his hand. I only need to leave up 1 blocker just as a way to dissuade him from going with the loading up Whitebeard and loading up leader, which we could probably counter out of anyway with this hand, but maybe if he puddings us, we couldn't do that. But from here, it's like, well, you could pudding me, you could Roger me, but you can't do both. He goes for the Roger and sees if he can get a win off of it, but we show him the bad news. We do have the counter power, and so he should just scoop it up from here. He's probably just analyzing the situation. Hey, I have no chance, and he will get out of that game. In the second game here, we're up against the same ace player, actually, but we win the die roll, so I choose to go second, of course. That'll also give us a little bit better chance. I didn't quite like that first hand. It did have a searcher in it, but I was really hoping to get more than 1 searcher. We do play 12 on the deck, and fortunately in the second hand I do get 2. Of course, we won't be able to play the other carrot searcher because We need 3 Dawn to actually activate that effect. Just having the Wanda, though, lets us contest their Searcher to push it off the board so they can't Jozu it later, which is, you know, a little bit of a pain point for them. Additionally, our carrot actually finds the stage again. This doesn't always happen. I swear it's less common than you think. And unfortunately, we don't have anything else to do. Like, if we had a Supernova Searcher, we could maybe go Bonnie into Bonnie, would be best case scenario. But even just using the other one, that is the Kid Killer, is preferable to what we did do. Now, even though I did freeze the Amato there, I do still want to clear it, because again, less bodies in board for our opponent means less Jozu targets, but also less swings that they'll be able to put out to pressure our hand and our life. And as long as we can keep a decent hand size with at least 1 life left, we should be able to start chaining Law Beppos, which is how we're going to win the game most of the time against Ace. And in the meantime, we'll just chip them down with 6k swings using our 5 cost and 6 cost bodies. Now, he does have a Searcher plus Jozu, which if they have to go first is usually going to be their 7 Dawn play. Not a big deal, though. You can just replay the carrot, so it's not like that bad. And additionally, I do go ahead and search for a Law with this Bonnie. I do happen to hit it, so we'll just go ahead and grab a 2k back to our hand, and we'll pressure him again with a couple of 6k swings. He has 2 available swings to him on his next turn, where he's probably going to be dropping his first 10 cost, and an 8k and a 9k is not the end of the world. We can just take both of those. We don't have a 10 drop yet, but we do have a Wanda Searcher, so we're going to get to look at it at a minimum 9 additional cards to try to find one of our 4 Law Beppos. And so I'll just go ahead and take the damage and take the damage again. Now, he does do this, I think, a little bit better in that he took the life for his event card. I think that's a very good move on Ace's part, and they should probably do that. Oh, I did also forget the Bonnie on board. We're probably just going to use that instead of the Wanda, as we'll be able to restand the Dawn with our stage, and in fact, we do get one. So now we're a 7k leader, and we've frozen the Jozu. I could have swung into the Jozu with my lead. I opted not to, just to... well, honestly, I don't know why I did that. I probably should have swung into it. In any event, he'll go ahead and go 8 with his lead, and then I'll just give him a 2k for that. No big deal. Now, again, I don't have a Law Beppo, but let's go ahead and try to dig for another one. We get to look at a bunch more cards, and I find one. So I'll just go ahead and play that down over my Bonnie. And I just need to leave one of these Laws up again, because if he has the Roger, he's welcome to go for it. I have enough counter power to get out of a 12-13, and if he has a Pudding, he's welcome to go for it because I have a blocker in play. So the best he could do is like play Pudding plus maybe Red Rock to get rid of the blocker, but then he's only swinging 6 and I'm a 7k leader, so there's just no way that we are going to die. And on our turn after this one, we've got the 2 Law Beppos. We're going to go for it with our carrot. We're just going to go swing out with everything on our board, attach 2 to lead, go 7, 11, 11, and then 8 drop carrot, restand them all, go again. And, you know, 4 11k swings, I don't care who you are, that's probably going to knock you down. Even Doffy, you know, for all of their healing and redirection and sometimes tapping with their whatever the Foxy event card is called, they still usually will fall to that. However, I draw into another La Beppo, so I just think to myself, hey, you know, another Marco is not going to change this math. I'm still not going to fall to a 12k plus a 13k, so as long as I leave these blockers up, there's just no way that I'm going to lose. Let's chip his hand size down even more. Yeah, so I just go ahead and do that instead to guarantee that there's no way that I'm going to lose. I think I even leave both of these Law blockers up as a just in case, but I have plenty of counter power in hand. The only way that I'm going to lose here is due to some kind of Pudding shenanigans, maybe, and if I only leave one blocker up, so he could go like maybe Pudding, I draw into literally no counter power, and then he just goes like 9, 9, 12, and maybe I could lose that way, but I'm just going to go ahead and counter out of the 12, and he has a 13 left, so that'll be the game. Enough of that OP13 stuff, though. Let's get into an OP14 matchup. We're playing against a Boa here, one of the hot new decks of this format, and kind of a menace if you've seen the ladder stats. This thing is kind of beating a lot of decks. Now, you could say, well, it's just new, so people don't know exactly what to do into it, and there may be some truth to that. I've found that I like to not swing into the leader, at least for the first few turns. For here, we'll just go ahead and clear the board that we can, and I'll even take the damage. I will also be trying to clear out their initial body, just because it will limit the pressure on my hand that they can accomplish, and additionally this will allow me to play this Bonnie blocker and draw a couple of extra cards. So if he lets it go, that's fine. I will take a damage, and in fact he does do that here. Now I will just pitch a no counter card. I don't usually win off of the La Beppo into Carrot finish play. A lot of the times if I'm going to be winning against Boa, it's going to be off the back of swarming the board with a lot of 5 to 6 cost character cards, and then swinging a ton of attacks into them. And then in the meantime, utilizing my 6k blockers in order to get more favorable card trades. They swing 7, I can just block with the 6 and give a 2k rather than giving 2 cards out of my hand. Eventually, they're gonna have to try to just putting and go for it with some unblockable events, but for right here, he's just gonna go ahead and play down his Boa. Now, I don't yet have a Law in hand, which is what I really want to get, so I'm hoping that I can defend this Bonnie, and fortunately, he only had the 1 attack. You're gonna see right here, block with the 6, give a 2k, and we only had to give 1 card for that whole turn. Now we're going to dig for a Law. We do find it, and we're likely to find it. I mean, we've already dug through quite a bit of the deck at this point, and looking at an additional 5, we're probably going to get there. And so at this point now, I'm going to have 3 6k bodies on board in addition to a Bonnie Searcher, so I feel very comfortable in starting to swing. He's already down to 2 life. He's got, 7 cards in hand. He's starting to feel the pressure too. He's pressured enough that he wants to play a healing card in Kuma, and now he will still swing out, of course, but now I've drawn into a couple more carrots, so this is very nice for me, and he's even going to start to swing into my board, which I am all for. It means I only have to give 1Ks instead of 2Ks, is what I would say, except I kind of want to keep both these carrots in my hand, so I might just give the 2K instead. I'm kind of ruminating on that. And I do end up just giving the 2k. He might go 8 into the Bonnie, and if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and give the 2-1 just to keep the extra body on board. And I may even start, trying to clean the board. Okay, I lied. I actually decided to go ahead and let that one go. But we'll just we'll do a little bit of freezing, and we'll just keep on pressuring life. We do get to freeze the entire board because we kept both of those carrots. Very convenient for us. He's deciding, do I want to take this life, try to gamble I get another trigger, decides against it, see if he can live an additional 2 turns, but from here, I've got 4 bodies on board, 3 of them are standing. He just has to try to 9-drop and pray that he's going to live a little bit longer. I have the 10-drop La Beppo in hand already, and so I just need to hang on to 1 life and then have a counter event up, and I should be okay. I could even try to go for it right here with the Dead Man's Game, but I will just go ahead and take, because I have the 2Ks in hand, and then I'll just give him the 2Ks. So I still have, now 6k worth of counter power in hand with an event, and I will be a 7k leader, and his entire board minus 1 card will be frozen. So we're going to get to, oh, he does pop a blocker off a trigger there. A little unsettling, but 10-10's still not going to get there with the counter power that we're showing. He's down to just 4 cards in hand. Goes ahead and takes the last life, see if he get another body. It wouldn't really matter with the hand that we have right here. We've already only got 5 cards, so a pudding is not even necessarily that effective, especially without his Gorgon sisters being able to give Dawn to all of his characters. They'd only give it to 1. So we're feeling invincible. Boa is just trying to determine what's the best swing math. Eventually decides to go for a 10, and we'll go for a 10 after this. Could have the event though, and so I decide, why tempt fate? Let's just go ahead and counter out. And he does in fact have a Perfume Fiender, so that could have been a 12k coming out afterward. In any event, we will walk with that one, and our opponent does concede. Let's jump into another Boa game. In this one, we are going first. I might have been going first on that other game too. I don't actually remember. But I do start with a Wanda, and that's, of course, going to be very nice for us. In addition, I have a Supernova Searcher and the Carrot Searcher. So, again, this is a pretty good start. And having 12 Searchers, you're usually going to see at least 1, and you do want to see more than 1 if possible. So, I'm just going to use my leader, clear out this one, and oh, I hit the Zoe as well, so we'll just go ahead and pass it back over. Again, I never want to swing into the Boa in the early turns, and a lot of times I end up taking the first hit just because I need to see all of my pieces. I will go ahead and swing out just so that I can get some rested cards. I want to make this swing as big as possible into his character, so I'll go 7 into it, demand 2 cards. He doesn't give them to me. Instead, I will just take the damage from here. And now that I have a blocker in play, I want to start defending. He only swings 5, and I'm happy to go ahead and just give him a block. From here as well, I'm very comfortable to start swinging in as I already have a blocker established, and I also have a carrot waiting in the wings as well as a law, so if he gets a 5 or lower cost, I could have rested it and froze it with the carrot. Unfortunately, I don't, and so rather than swinging with the Bonnie, I'll just go ahead and establish another couple of bodies and then end my turn. I want to keep the blocker up so that I can keep cards in hand. It might mitigate a 5k swing entirely, or maybe just make it so I only have to give 1 2k for a 7k swing. In any event, I do have a ton of counter power in hand, so I'm not particularly concerned with dying. He tries to clear out my Bonnie, so I'll just give him the block, and then he will finally clear it. From here, he just goes with his 7k Kuma into my lead, so I'll just give him 2 cards. I do keep the Searcher just because it's my only one, even though it's a 1k, and as you can see, I am still having the Perona in my deck at this point. Eventually, like I said, I do cut it, but for right now, it is our 5 cost that we're going to be playing with the Law, it looks like. But I am just pressuring his life. I'll give him 6k swing, 6k swing. I want to take all the 2ks out of his hand just to make sure that in the later stages of the game, he's going to only have 1ks. And now I can use this carrot to further pressure him, get another 2 swings in, and additionally freeze one of his bodies. So again, I'm mitigating damage and pressuring. And against Boa, that's just what you want to do. Against other decks, you stall out the game until you can get to La Beppo, but for specifically against Boa, you do need to end the game because of this card. This card is very powerful, especially because I don't have a La Beppo in my hand already. So I'm going to just go ahead and keep on pressuring. I want to keep at least a blocker up for this turn. I could just, pressure for game. And so I'll just go ahead and swing a 6 with this Kid Killer because I do intend to use this Law to bounce my carrot so I can freeze the Kuma, so he only has 2 swings available to him. Now he does get a Marguerite, but I'm gonna end with a blocker in play no matter what. So I'm not particularly concerned, and in fact, he's got 0 life left. I just go ahead and leave the other Law up as well. Again, we're not trying to do anything too fancy. Why tempt fate? Let's just sit on 2 blockers. They're not blockers yet. I have to be at 1 life first. But from the Boa's point of view, he probably is thinking he had to end the game. But now that you got 2 blockers, 2 life left, he's going to have to try to extend. That's not an easy thing to do. He will try to heal with this Kuma and probably leave a couple Dawn up to use with a You'll Frighten Me event. But I do have a Dead Man's Game. So Dead Man's Game is going to mitigate that threat entirely. And with only 4 cards left, and we've got 5 swings, I don't care what you have in life. We're going to get there. And lo and behold, that is a win. Moving right along, though, we do have an Emu game afterward, where our Emu opponent did win the die roll. Very unfortunate. Your win rate goes down a lot against Emu as soon as you lose that die roll and they get to choose going second. And not to mention, this Wanda did whiff a search. It's unlikely to happen, but it does happen, and that's just going to mean 1 less card total for us to play with. Still, though, we still have our Carrot Searcher, which we just drew into, and it whiffs on stage. So, see, it does happen. We did whiff the stage. Play continues, though. We'll just go ahead and play our Bonnie, grab a Law. We do have follow-up. We've got Perona, which is a fantastic card to have into Emu. In fact, this is the matchup why we have it. So I'll just go ahead and play the Perona, swing 5 into the enemy leader, and see what he does from there. I mean, he's taking his turns, searching for cards, but we already know what we're going to do. There's not a lot of thinking to be done against Emu, I'll be honest. A lot of the play becomes very repetitive once you've played it a few times. But from the Emu side, they have to find all their pieces, so they will be playing more Searchers, using Leader Effect, digging through more cards. Fortunately, didn't even have the Mars. So that means that I'm going to be able to play this Carrot out using the Law instead of just having to use the Law, bounce back Wanda into nothing. Although, actually, I think that I should grab the carrot back to try to search for stage, only because our carrot's going to come in rested. And so having the stage will allow us to restand it, and then, well, it's usually just a lot better for us now, isn't it? But as you see, I do have the stage in hand already. I don't know why I swung 6. I'm going to play this carrot, I'm sure of it. So I guess I just grab back the Wanda. I didn't play the carrot. Would you imagine that? I guess I wanted to guarantee that I had something to do in my turn after this, or if the Perona gets popped, which it does. So I'll just go ahead and play the carrot off of the Perona getting eliminated. We never defend our bodies. That's something that you have to know about the Emu matchup. You don't defend the bodies, whether you're going first or second. The thing is, the end game that we want to get to is having 2 Law Beppos in play, and then using this carrot to restand them and attacking. Now, I drew into another Zoe. Very, very bad news for me, because it means that I'm going to have to drop this carrot just to keep tempo, which is not what I want to do. Again, I want to keep this so that I can get these La Beppos in play and use it with them, but the way that this game is going, because we've whiffed 2 searches, we lost the die roll, we're just so far behind already, I need to do something, because I'm going to die not just this turn, but the turn afterward. I get another La Beppo out of life. Where is my counter cards? This is maybe the most unlucky that I've gotten. But, you know, it's important to see, what do we do when we're getting unlucky? Well, the answer is we try to scrounge for a win. So I need to, this is my win condition, I need to live, get to a turn after this one, and then hopefully draw into a dead man's game, and then maybe we can win from there. So I'm trying to clear out this, I don't even remember the name. Jupiter? Is Jupiter the one? I think it's Jupiter. I think Jupiter gives him the plus 2k. He, of course, defends it with his blocker after countering out with 1 counter event. From here, he's just going to chip me down. He's not even trying to kill me. That's the thing. He just wants to get all the cards out of my hand. And, in fact, I won't be dead. I do get 1 more turn after this, but I do still need to get the dead man's game to even try to go for it. And he leaves so many Dawn up, it's just like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do it. So instead, I will just try to clear this Jupiter again, and then hopefully we can live and then win from there. So I clear the Jupiter, and then I go for face, because I don't have a carrot to restand my La Beppos, and I don't have a dead man's game to rest his blockers. I need to put him in range that 4 swings is going to get through 1 blocker. In any event, my defense is pretty paper thin. The Emu doesn't know that, though. All 3 of my cards that are currently dead could be counter cards, and in that event, he wouldn't be able to eliminate me, so he will just go ahead and swing the Nezjuro, minus 2k on my La Beppo, and then pressure the La Beppo to try to force out a few more cards out of my hand. Now, he does swing 9 and turn it into a 7. Very unfortunate, I only have 3k worth of counter power. He was definitely going to go with his leader into it as well, and, you know, he swings 8 right here, showing that that's probably what he's going to do. So he clears the La Beppo. Not great for me, and it kind of it should be kind of telling to the Emu that I didn't have enough counter to counter out of a 9 and then an 8 like that onto my La Beppo. Still, I do draw into dead man's game. I could go for it right now, but I'm looking at this situation, you know, I've got 3 actual swings, I've got my dead man's game. The problem is my opponent has 7 cards in hand, and I can only rest 1 of his active Dawns. So at a minimum, as long as he has 1 counter event, he's going to be a 9k, and then 6 cards that, as long as there's like 3k worth of counter power and 6 cards, I'm not going to be able to eliminate him. So I got to just go ahead and try for another La Beppo, clear out the Jupiter again, pressure some of these bodies. I want to get rid of this Nezjuro so that he won't be able to minus 2k again, just because otherwise we're going to be in the exact same situation. But I'm in the exact same situation again. I haven't been able to escape. I do have to just give him a 1k when he swings 7 with his lead, and my opponent may not have a 5 Elders left. He decides, I'm just going to go for it. Swings 9, I take the damage. Swings 9, I have to give him my counter event. But you see, it was kind of close. If we had a little bit more counter power, we could maybe have won from that position. Any other way, though, that is our one bad matchup in the meta, and I wouldn't even say it's particularly bad. I don't have a game where I want to die roll against an Emu. By the way, I played like 3 or 4 of them, and I lost die roll every single time. I think I ended up going 1-3 against emus during my run. But see, there's only 4 games out of 64 games. It's not a very popular deck on the ladder right now. Maybe people are just fatigued. Maybe you'll see it more at regionals or at locals, but for right now, not so much. In any event, this game here is up against a Mihawk. I did start a Bonnie Searcher plus a Carrot Searcher, got a Zoe in play. Pretty good for me, and I believe I was even able to clear out his first Searcher. He's playing a Wano package. Kind of interesting. I don't see a ton of them playing that. But what we want to do against Mihawk is clear out the little bodies. I am going to, obviously clear the Searcher, but I'm also going to clear this Perona just because I don't want him to be able to bounce it back with Law, and I don't want him to be able to tap it for Tashigi. Now on his 6th Dawn turn, this Mihawk's probably just going to have to play a 5-cost character. His best is probably the Perona, just to make sure that my Carrot won't be able to stun it. Instead, though, he does have a Tashigi, and we're going to take whatever swing he was going to give us. We don't have anything to do, actually. We get a Bonnie Searcher, though, which is pretty good. We'll probably be playing that plus the Law and trying to grab a 5-cost character. Now, fortunately, our Carrot is going to be able to stun this Tashigi. I do decide to try to dig for exactly a Carrot, though, just because a lot of times this matchup is determined by how many Carrots exactly we get on the board. If they play multiple Shanks, it's very annoying if they get to rest your 6-cost characters every single time that they swing, and so you want to lock those down as best as possible. Unfortunately, I didn't find a 5-cost Carrot. I didn't get a 5-drop in those 5 cards at all, in fact. And so I'm going to have to just play the Wanda again, trying to dig for a Carrot. I don't get it, unfortunately. And so I just grab another 2K, put my Bonnie into play, trying to be Dawn efficient. I don't have a counter event to play anyway, and we'll just restand the Carrot with Zoe and pass it back over. Our opponent goes to 8 Dawn here. It's probably a Shank's turn if he has it. But instead he goes for an Otama. In fact, whiffs on the Otama, maybe not playing enough Wano cards. There's the Shanks, though. Goes ahead, and I imagine will tap down my Carrot and try to swing into it. Actually has a You Should Be My Samurai card to draw 2, which is kind of cute, and instead goes for my Bonnie just to guarantee the kill. Because he used the You Should Be My Samurai, he only has 2 Dawn left, so he knows I have 2 2Ks in hand. I searched them both, so he doesn't want to swing into Carrot just to have me, easily counter out of that. Now we will be using the Carrot to freeze the Shanks, and fortunately I draw into a Perona. Now if this was a Bonnie, the 5-cost, I could still use that as well to the same effect. So in fact, though, I'm looking at this, I think I would just end up playing this 8-drop Carrot. Yeah, especially if I'm going to swing 6 here. So we'll just go ahead and freeze the Tashigi with the 8-cost Carrot. We'll go 5 and then 7, and hopefully get a couple of cards out. He's just going to give us a counter event, it looks like. Oh, actually takes all the way down to 0. Okay, so this is a very favorable situation, especially since we've got a Law Beppo as well. He's got a Law Beppo, we've got a Law Beppo. Our Law Beppo is going to be a little bit better, though, as we are going to have, in addition to the Law Beppo, the first 10-cost character, that being our Carrot. And so he can freeze a big body every single turn, and that's probably what he's going to be doing. His problem is that I'm going to be doing the same thing, but also swinging an extra big body every single turn, and I've got 4 life left, so I'm really not that concerned with him trying to go for game. From this position, his best play is probably just playing another Law Beppo, sitting on a few Dawn up, and passing again. And yeah, lo and behold, that's what he's going to do. He may even try to clear out my Carrot, but I do have 5k worth of counter in hand, so that's not going to be favorable for him. Instead, he just does pressure my life. I go ahead and give him a 2k counter and then a 1k counter, and he will just scoop it up from there. Yeah, looking at his hand, he really didn't have that much counter power left. In our second go about against a Mihawk, I am going to be going second in this one. Unfortunately, I don't start with any searchers, so we're going to see what happens when we don't have ideal start. I do have a couple of these 1-drop 2Ks, and so I can at least clear out one of our opponent's bodies. I'm kind of kicking myself for not playing the other one, as if I had, I may have actually been able to clear both if I had drawn into a Mink, but I actually didn't draw into a Mink, so no big deal. We're just going to go ahead and swing at his leader and then play out our Law Bonnie combo. I did need to tap my leader in order to get the Bonnie effect because it does require 8 rested cards. She does count herself when you play her off the Law, so with the 6 rested Dawn, I need the rested leader. And then I drew into my 1 cost carrot, but unfortunately I didn't get Zoe. So a lot of things are going wrong for us this game, but we still have plenty of play left. We're just going to take all the damage. As you recall, in the last game, we were still at 4 life. So this Mihawk is kind of putting us in a similar situation as we were putting the last Mihawk in. Now, additionally, what's kind of annoying is that I don't have another Law and I don't have a Searcher. So I'm just going to have to swing with my Dawn and play a carrot out to freeze the Perona. And again, carrot's going to be the way that we make or break our matchup here, as it is our way of, mitigating our opponent's swings. Now, for our opponent's turn, he just goes with 7 with the Law, and I'm kind of expecting a Shanks to come down. I usually do against these Mihawk players, but instead he goes for a Kid Killer Searcher. So he's playing the Supernova package, which I'm a big fan of, and then freezes our carrot by bouncing and replaying the Perona, and then he's probably just going to go 8 or, okay, it looks like a 7 here with his leader. I'll just go ahead and Law Beppo then. I was probably going to do that anyway. Being 7k is very convenient, as it means all these 6k guys are going to need a Dawn in order to attack. Not to say that Mihawk can't do it. Of course he can. He could play Law Beppo, rest his Kid Killer in this case, and then give a Dawn to each of his little guys. Well, I guess I say little, they're 6ks. Each of his 6ks, swing 7s, and I'll have to give him a card for each, which is exactly what he's doing here. He can even leave a Dawn up after doing that, which will almost guarantee that he won't be losing the game on my next turn. We've got plenty of game left to play, though. We're both green decks, and I've got plenty of Law Beppos to go. So I will just go ahead and swing 6 into one of his bodies and freeze the other one. And then, unfortunately, I don't have Zoe, so I can't even really pressure his leader very well. Fortunately for me, though, he's going to counter out, and so I will just go ahead and leave up both of my characters here, my Bonnie and my Law. I, of course, have the option to either go for it with a carrot next turn, or potentially I could just play a Law Beppo and try to extend for another turn. Now, these turns would be a lot less scary if I actually hit a Zoe with my initial search there, because I'd have an extra Dawn to hold up as well, which would be very nice because I have 2 counter events in hand, which are currently just kind of worthless because I have to play these Law Beppos if I'm going to survive in this game. He does go ahead and play a Shanks, which is kind of interesting. Rests one of my blockers here and then uses the event to stun both my carrot and my Bonnie. So this is actually getting kind of spooky. He's got 2 blockers. I could try to just, dead man's game them and go, but he's got 3 Dawn as well. With 3 cards in hand, there's not unlikely that Mihawk could have just 9k worth of counter raring to go here. And so I could also just go for it with like a 5, 7, 11, or I guess 10. 5, 7, 10, 10, play my carrot, 7, 10, 10 would be what I could potentially push with. But I decide, let's just poke with a 5, see what happens. If he takes it, we go for it. And if he doesn't, we'll just go for board, because a lot of those counter events are only for leader. They're not for characters. He does show us he does have a counter event for characters, but his 2 Laws, since he has 2 life, are not currently blockers, and that last card in hand is likely a counter event that only works on leader. Unfortunately, that counter event does turn out to be the one that rests my blocker that I left up. That is, of course, Dead Man's Game. So he hasn't played it yet, but yeah, there he goes. And of course, Mihawk is going to be able to rest the stage, get back 3 Dawn. He's got 9 Dawn to work with 3 bodies that can swing as well as leader. Fortunately, though, being a 7k leader with 4 2ks in hand, I will be able to counter out of everything quite nicely, and from there he will just concede the game. Moving right along into another matchup, we're up here against a, kind of a rare thing to see, that is Gecko Moria. You don't necessarily think of him being too much of a threat, but actually he has a unique card that allows him to do fairly well into carrot, that being the Perona. Your carrots, obviously, they need to swing to get their effect, and so the Perona freezing them means you only get 1 use out of your carrot, usually for the entire time it's on the board, because he's just going to keep on recycling that Perona over and again with all of his ability to recur from grave. Now, I have had a pretty good start here, though. And the way that we're going to win this game, if we do, is going to be by out-swarming him on board. I've already got a full board of searchers, and we are going to go ahead and play this carrot because, of course, we want to mitigate the amount of swings that he can do on us to maintain card advantage as well. He does go for his Gecko Moria and plays the Hogback, which is, kind of annoying. From here, I'll just go ahead and grab a Bonnie as I want to continue to sift through more and more cards. I'll just freeze the Hogback, and I want to let him play another guy out of life, and hopefully for the rest of the game, anytime he plays a Hogback, we'll be able to freeze it. Fortunately, he didn't have a Perona to play there. Instead, he had to just play the Hogback. I'm trying to decide who I want to play over and who I want to bounce to hand. I got plenty of options, one of each of the Searcher. I decided to go with the 2K, and I'll just go ahead and pitch the Elaclaw. Reasoning being is, while I have the Dawn right now, I'm probably not going to be using it, and so I'd rather just have these 2K counters and the Searcher. My only 1K, which, usually you'd pitch a 1K, is a Searcher, and I don't have 2 Law Beppos yet. I do have the Carrot and 1 Law Beppo, but having Searchers is very nice because it just allows you to continue to search through your deck to find more pieces. Now, he is going to pressure my board, and I go ahead and defend it just because, again, I want to keep my board presence up. I want to overwhelm the Gecko Moria with lots of swings. And so from here, I can go ahead and do just that. You'll also notice that he already has a full board, so any triggers that he gets out of life, he's just going to have to play over his own characters if he wants to actually use them. And so I'm going to keep on pressuring with this Carrot. I only had 9 Dawn at the start of this turn, and he just takes all of the damage and isn't able to play any additional bodies. What you may also notice is that, unfortunately for our opponent, he did not get any sort of Peronas to play, which is actually the reason why it looks so good for us right now. So good, in fact, he has to worry about actually clearing my board. And he's being a little bit greedy with it by just going 6s in, but eventually, one of them is going to get cleared by this big Gecko Moria, and he does play his Boa for good measure. Now, I do make a bit of a misplay here as, for whatever reason, I forget that Boa takes a life from me. I was playing with the assumption that I still had 4 life remaining, but I actually only have 3. And so I could have just pushed for game, and it was almost a for sure victory unless he got like 2 0-cost events out of life. Instead, though, he does counter out of my 7K swing so as to not die to the 10 right afterward, and I am able to clear off one of his bodies, but if he had all 4 swings available to him, I only have 1K of counter power and I'm only a 7K leader. I could have fallen. I could have died in that one, but in any event, it's just enough, and we do win that one. Moving right along to this next game, I do lose a die roll against the Doffy player. Doffy, of course, a newcomer in OP14, and may not be making as big of a splash as Boa, but still definitely a contender. And from here, I do decide to clear his body with my Wanda, which I'm deciding now was probably a misstep, only because now he gets to ramp a Dawn without having to use leader effect to minus a Dawn first. I just wanted to get the body off the board because I didn't want him to be able to use it on my leader swing. But in retrospect now, I've lost my Wanda because it was tapped and he could swing into it, which means that I don't have a Mink in play to use my leader effect on this Monet, meaning that my Carrot is not going to be able to freeze it. So instead, I will simply freeze his Dawn, so at the minimum, he's not at 8 Dawn now. He won't be able to play his 8-cost character that plays a 5-cost character, the Doffy Pirate one. And so at least, my blunder doesn't end up costing me too much tempo. I am having another problem in this game, though, which is I don't have access to Zoe yet. Usually, by now, ideally, I would have a Zoe in play, but no dice, and I haven't drawn a Carrot or the stage itself. So from here, I'll just go ahead and dig through my deck. I grab another Law, as since we're on the go first curve, we're going to have 2 turns where we want to use Law. And now I want to just clear this 2K, and I think it is correct to do so because the ramp doesn't really matter. He's already at 8 Dawn, so going to 9 Dawn is not going to be any difference. He does, defend it the first time. I'll just go ahead and clear it. Same with Monet, though. Him ramping too, not a big deal. And since I don't necessarily expect this Carrot to live, since he could just play the 10-drop Doffy and send it straight to my yard, I want to try to clear the bodies as they come, just so that I'm not getting so overwhelmed by their 6K swings. Instead, though, he does counter out, and I'm, happy enough to take cards out of his hand. Eventually, we are also an attrition deck. We could win the battle of attrition this way, and so we have a great play next turn. We're going to play another couple of 6k bodies into the board. He is going to drop the 8 cost, which I suspect he wanted to play last turn, but surprisingly, instead of playing a 5 cost character, he does play a baby 5, which signals to me maybe he doesn't have a ton of counter power in hand. Maybe he thinks I could try to go for it next turn and he could fall. That's probably not correct, just because I only have 4 real swings, but maybe he's worried that this Kid Killer is about to dawn up and try to go, which, hey, if you only have like 2k worth of counter power, is a legitimate concern, because your life could all be bricks. In any event, though, we are just going to keep on pressuring his bodies. I go 6 into his Rosinante, and if you're wondering why I swung the carrot first, it's because he left 2 Dawn up. So he could have slow beam. I want to play around that so that my carrot cannot get rested and not get its effect off. Too many times, these slow beams can completely mess up your turn, so you do want to play around them as best as possible. The last thing I'm going to be doing on this turn is playing this Law and then playing the Bonnie off of it to completely fill up my board with 6k characters, as well as sift a couple cards out of my hand. And so with the rest of my Dawn, I'm just going to be attacking into this Rosinante to try to clear it out. My opponent, though, he still has leader effect, can just redirect over to his 9k, and so I'll just leave the 1 Dawn up for potentially using this Dead Man's Game. I don't think it's going to be necessary at all, but I don't want to dip too low on cards, and I have no 2ks in hand, so it might be necessary if he tries to pressure my life a ton. Instead, though, he just goes for a 5k, so I will give him a 1k counter, and he's only got 3 cards in his hand, so I'm thinking, it's probably just going to be a 10 Doffy turn. He's probably going to turn off 3 of my character cards so I can't attack with them, and I'll have to just use my entire turn for a Law Beppo to try to hang on and live to a turn after that, which, with as many blockers as I have in play, will probably be sufficient. That being said, though, he did play a searching event, so he won't be playing the 10 cost, and that means a lot more attacks for me, which, hey, no complaints here. And so he goes again for another search. I don't even know what he's probably looking for at this point, maybe a baby 5, but he gets a Virgo. Virgo, for a lot of decks is really annoying to deal with, but for my deck, it's actually not so bad, because I do just want to attack into his characters or freeze them with my carrot. And so I'll go ahead and rest the Virgo, attack with my carrot, freeze the Virgo. He is a little bit harder to eliminate as he is a 7k. I'd rather swing these 6s into the 6ks that he currently has on board. He only has 2 cards in hand, so he's going to have to start giving these up. Now, I do also have the Law Beppo to freeze his 10 Doffy with, and so I'm pretty much free to swing with all of my other characters, and I'll just play the 10 Doffy over my Freeze Bonnie. Hopefully we get him low enough that we will be able to go for game on the turn after this. I even leave the sugar up just because in my head, I'm thinking the only way he's going to survive is he gets the 10-drop Doffy. If he plays the 10-drop Doffy, he's not going to be able to use that sugar anyway, so it's not a big deal. And if he spends 4 of his Dawn to play a baby 5, also not a big deal. I don't really mind that, because I do have the 8-cost carrot. And so in a pinch, of course, you'd rather play it when you have 2 Law Beppos, get to do the 7, 11, 11. Sometimes, though, just swinging 6 with character, and then 7 with lead and 11 with Law Beppo, playing this carrot and then going again is enough. And we have enough counter power that we're going to be able to protect every single body on the board. We're going to end up with something like, what is that, 9 swings next turn? It doesn't matter if they are mostly 6s. It's still probably going to be enough to chew through an opponent that only has currently 1 life, but with a baby 5 could go to 2, and then has a redirect. So that's 4 swings that have to connect, and it is going to cost at least 1 card out of hand, so that's like 6 cards he could have in hand, and then maybe he also has like 1 or 2 counter events. The only real counter event that I would be concerned about is the one that gives him plus 2k for the turn. Instead, though, he just plays Doffy plus I don't remember what that sugar does exactly. I think it plays another Doffy Pirate. he doesn't even leave Dawn up. So I'm really not concerned. Let's just go for it. I even draw into another Dead Man's Game, which, again, if he left Dawn up, we could have also used the Dead Man's Game instead of the carrot. But we're just going to go for the carrot thing. You know, it's a new card. We want to play our new cards. We get to swing 4 6s, a 7, an 11, restand all the minks, and then go 6, 7, 11 again. I can't think of anything that he could possibly have to get out of that. And our opponent, you know, at this point he has 3 cards in hand. Just an 11 and then an 11 is enough. But I am going to go through the motion just because I do want to play it. But he only has 2k left, so he does lose from there. Here we are in the last matchup that I'm going to be showcasing. That is up against the blue-purple Sanji deck. Of course, at the time that I was playing through this was actually the guy who was at the top of the ladder. I think he's fallen a bit since then. I just checked. He's like a 3rd or something. But in any event, he was playing blue-purple Sanji, and I just thought it was kind of an interesting deck that maybe I want to give a try. I hadn't really been looking at it too much, but that new 3 costs event that plays a Sanji from trash is actually pretty cool. It lets you pitch your Sanjis at Liberty, and additionally, if they're KO'd, it's not the end of the world because you can just get them back with that event. And then, once the Reiju comes out, EB03, it's going to be even better. For right now, though, Carrot actually does have a pretty good matchup into it, owing to the fact that all of his characters are 6 cost or less, with the main attacker being a 3 cost. We can both rest it and then freeze it with our own carrot card. Additionally, because they don't play a ton of character cards early on, like searchers, our Bonnies are mostly uncontested. So we're going to get a lot of value out of the Bonnies, we're going to get a lot of value out of our carrots. The thing is that our opponent as well doesn't have a ton of 1-cost searcher events, because if he did, those 2 Dawn that you just saw he left up on his turn would have turned into 2 more events in trash. What he lacks, though, in events, he's made up for in the character cards. As you'll see, he's got all 4 Sanjis already. It's only turn 4. What happened? Well, he's played 2 of them with character events, the 3-cost event that he can play with his leader effect. So he is super far ahead in terms of characters on board for where a Sanji normally is. He's just behind in number of events in trash. Normally they would be at a plus 2k on their Sanjis right now, but they're currently only a plus 1k. So I'll just go ahead and pressure the bodies as they're not too big to swing into. And I do have another carrot to play, and so we're going to eat another 2 cards out of his hand and freeze one of them to mitigate him down to just 3 swings, and we also get to protect our carrot with Zoe. So both of our carrots should be safe, hopefully, is what I would have said, but here comes a red rock to put one back into my deck. Unfortunate, but again, not the end of the world. He had to spend a lot of Dawn on it. We'll just also let this Law go, as I do want to hold on to the cards in my hand. I don't have a ton left to do. Fortunately, the Searcher does find us a lot better, which is probably the best thing we could have drawn into. I will go ahead and play it to freeze another Sanji, and then swing 7 into this last one. He does end up having to use Gum Gum Giant to save it. We're very happy to see that go, as our opponent is down low on cards and now down low on life. We have 3 real attacks we could make into him, and he starts to go off with his 1-cost event cards. So theoretically, he could have had this earlier where he chains 1-cost event into 1-cost event into 1-cost event, and it gets his Sanjis up real big real quick. Now, I do assume he's going to have to leave at least a couple Dawn open, so I do take the 9s, and his last swing is a 7, so I'll just go ahead and counter out of that. I do still have, a couple life left, and at least I'll be able to freeze minimum 1 of these Sanjis, but I draw into a Law out of my life, so I am going to go ahead and utilize that Law in order to freeze an additional Sanji. I have 2 life left, so he needs 3 swings minimum to actually take me down, and so I have enough counter power. I can at least counter out of one of them. And additionally, he ends up giving me the blocker because he doesn't want to drop to 1 life for whatever reason. And so with only 3 swings and me having a blocker remaining, there's really just no way that he's going to be able to go for game on me. And so he's going to use the rest of his turn to try to dig for enough counter power and maybe a red rock to deal with my 10 drop so that I won't be able to go for game against him on my next turn. He needs to survive. Now, I do have Dead Man's Game, which is usually what I use as a way to close out the game. Again, you could use the Dead Man's or the 8-cost carrot. But from here, I'm free to give the Elaclaw instead and actually top deck the carrot. So I could have, rested 2 of his Dawn. I could even just, check with a 11k swing, and that's honestly probably what I should do just in case he is playing slow beam. But I also want to make sure that I'm freezing the Sanji as well as I can. So we'll just go 7 with our carrot, and then 6 with our leader, 11 with our big boy, and then we can just drop the new card. Oh boy, get another 3 swings. How broken is that? And he's still got 3 Dawn left. He could still have 1 more Gum Gum Giant. He's only used 3 of them at this point. So here's the last one. He's now out of Gum Gum Giants. We'll check with an 11, see if it's enough. He gives us 2 more cards, 2 more +4s, and from here he just doesn't have enough to counter. So we do get that game as well. Alright, so hopefully you guys now have a pretty good idea of what the carrot deck is going to be doing in OP14/EB04 in most of the major matchups. 2 of the decks that I was expecting to see a lot more of but didn't find any of were Kaido and Jinbei. Now, Jinbei I expect to be similar to other board swarm decks like Boa, where you outvalue them by swinging into their board early and often, while building your own board and looking for as much value out of your cards as possible. So I'm not too concerned with that deck, but Kaido is a total wild card. We can definitely deal with his unKOable characters by stunning them, but that 10 cost Kaido could just be a monster. I mean, if we're not able to prevent our entire board from getting wiped, it's probably just going to be game over from that point. And to make matters worse, my current build is not playing any of the protection characters such as Tashigi that you might find in a standard green list. Instead, what I would be relying on is using the Freeze Bonnie in order to stun one of the Kaido's Dawn so that they won't have access to the 10 drop. However, this is kind of a band-aid solution, especially since I'm only playing 2 of that card. I may not see it, and even if I do see it, it's really only buying you 1 extra turn before they could just, play it on their turn after that. And so if Kaido becomes a lot more prevalent in the meta, I might need to include more ways to help mitigate that threat, such as the inclusion of Tashigi, or at least maxing out on my copies of the Freeze Bonnie. Though if we are able to remove the 10 cost Kaido from the equation, I am confident we would be able to win that matchup only because we have so many blockers, we have very good draw power, so we're probably not going to be getting overwhelmed by the pressure that a Kaido is able to put out. Another deck that I only played 1 game against was the Kuzan deck. He does get some new teeth in EB04 with the 5 cost Isho, which forces a double discard, as well as his 4 cost Bluegrass, which, annoying enough, on play is going to bottom deck one of our searchers so he can't recur it with Law, and additionally, anytime it gets to attack, it draws him additional cards. And so, while I did manage to win the 1 game I played against the Kuzan deck, it was a very close one where if I didn't win on the turn that I did, I was not going to be able to survive on his following turn, and so it's going to be a deck to watch out for sure. As for the more popular decks, though, that I found, here's how the win rates looked. I know it's a low sample size, and of course people are going to be adapting their decks in the coming weeks as they play more and figure out what works and what doesn't, but this should at least give you a rough idea of where Carrot is strong and where she's just decent. This is likely the deck I'm going to be taking to Nationals unless something else I try in the next couple weeks really shines and stands out to me, so I'm definitely going to be hitting the ladder a lot more in this coming week. That's going to be all for this video though, and so if you liked what you saw, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons to see more. If there's any decks that you want to see next, let me know in a comment below and I'll be sure to check it out. And hey, if you try the deck and you find trouble with a particular matchup, let me know that as well in the comments. We might be able to help each other out and work towards a game plan against it. And so with that, thanks for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.